When a millionaire CEO offered 1 million for a night, I never expected his heartbreaking secret. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. My heart raced as I stood there, face to face with a man cloaked in confidence and power. He had the kind of charisma that could turn heads in a crowded room, yet I felt the weight of something darker behind his eyes, a hidden shroud of pain. His office was a living testament to luxury granite floors that gleamed under the dazzling chandelier, leather furniture that hugged your body like a lover, and panoramic windows revealing a skyline that thrummed with ambition. In that moment, the thrill of wealth was overshadowed by an unsettling chill that slithered down my spine. What could possibly lead a man like him to make such an outlandish offer? I took a shaky breath, my fingers trembling as they fiddled with the edge of my blouse. It was supposed to be a simple consultation, a chance to elevate my future, but his proposition turned it all upside down. $1 million for a single night? It felt like being offered the moon, and yet, deep inside, my instincts screamed for caution. Behind me, the city's heartbeat echoed, but I felt like an intruder in a world I didn't understand. For my family, this could change everything. My mother had been sick, the hospital bills piled up like unwelcome guests. My younger brother looked at me with hope in his eyes, trusting I could make it better. The thought of affording a brighter future tugged at my heart, but at what cost? This was more than just money. Why? I finally managed to ask, my voice barely a whisper, as if the word itself carried the weight of my fear. It hung in the air, heavy with expectation. His expression shifted, a fleeting glimpse of vulnerability masking the confidence that dominated him just moments before. The silence stretched. I could hear my heartbeat, loud and frantic. Around us, the world continued, but it felt like we were suspended in time. People outside moved like phantoms, unaware of the tempest brewing within the walls of this glass fortress. I have reasons, he said, his voice low and rough like gravel. Reasons that haunt me, but that's not the question you should be asking. His gaze pierced through me, deeper than I thought possible. Suddenly the air felt thick, suffocating. What did he mean? What would a night entail? I remembered the rumors, whispers of secret desires and heartbreaking pasts swirling around him at every gala, every event. The more I thought, the worse my trepidation grew. Every question that danced on the tip of my tongue felt wrong. That I opened my mouth to protest, but the words wouldn't come. Instead, I was pulled into his world, a realm of unspoken truths and uncharted territory. A million thoughts rushed through my mind, but one stood out above the rest. Was I willing to risk everything for a night? Was I ready to uncover the hidden layers of this mysterious man? The electric atmosphere crackled between us. My breath hitched in my throat, a lump forming as I weighed my options. In that moment, I realized something chilling. The decision wasn't just about money. It was about stepping into a darkness I couldn't yet comprehend. Then, he leaned closer, his voice a mere whisper. You may find more than you bargained for. And suddenly, I faced the abyss, teetering on the edge of uncertainty. What lay beyond the void? I had to know. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. I wavered, caught in an emotional whirlwind that set my heart racing and my mind spiraling. The room, once a mere backdrop to his grandeur, now felt like it was closing in around me. His presence was magnetic, yet terrifying, in a lure that beckoned with promises of luxury but warned of shadows that lay beneath. That I can't. The words slipped from my lips, trembling as they landed in the silence between us. The thoughts of my family clashed with the daring pull of his proposition. How could I even consider a night of intimacy with someone so enigmatic? Taking a step back, I forced myself to breathe, gathering my scattered thoughts. The flicker of doubt in my heart was soon engulfed by a surge of desperation. My brother's face flitted through my mind, wide-eyed and innocent, believing in me to turn our circumstances around. The idea tugged at me, a lifeline in the chaos. Please, let me explain. He stepped forward, eyes earnest yet shadowed with something unnameable. I offered you $1 million because I see in you a strength you may not even realize you possess. But the offer is steep, and it's not just about the money. It's about the connection, the potential to heal. He trailed off, his voice wavering, reminding me of the hidden pain lurking beneath his charisma. For a moment, I saw him as a man, not just a CEO drowning in dollar signs and expectations. There was a flicker of something deep within, a longing perhaps, but I couldn't fully grasp it through the haze of fear enveloping me. What do you mean heal? I asked, my voice steadier than I felt. He held my gaze a moment longer, the weight of his unspoken truth heavy between us. Because sometimes, we need someone to see us for who we truly are beyond our scars, our failures. I've lost more than you know, and it feels like I'm drowning in it every day. Each word tugged at my heart, unraveling the facade of confidence he wore like armor. My mind buzzed, stretching to understand, to empathize with a man who had everything yet appeared so lost. What have you lost? The question slipped out before I could stop it, and I couldn't fathom the intensity behind it. He looked away, his shoulders sagging ever so slightly. I can't burden you with my pain. All you need to know is that I'm reaching for redemption and I thought you could help. The sincerity in his voice was both a balm and a knife. His pain must have weighed heavily, yet the power he tried to wield felt like a double-edged sword. Just then, my phone buzzed urgently in my pocket. Pulling it out, I saw my mother's name flashing on the screen, anxiety curling in my stomach. I hesitated briefly before answering, the conflict raging within me as I fought to balance their hopes and my own burgeoning feelings of compassion for this man. Hello? My voice felt strained, the tension building like a relentless wave. Sweetheart, my mother's voice came trembling through the line. I've just received a call from the hospital. They want payment up front for the tests. I didn't know what to sigh or raw, aching panic surged through me, sinking deep into my chest as reality crashed down. The $1 million suddenly felt like a beacon in the dark, but was that a fate I truly wanted? Would it come at the cost of my own heart and soul? I was about to answer when I felt his presence beside me, like a steady lighthouse in a raging storm. Without looking away from my phone, he leaned in closer, lowering his voice. Remember, sometimes we have to break to find the path to healing. I'm here when you're ready to find that healing together. The walls of his fortress pulsed around me, future and past colliding in a cinematic rush between the urgency of my family's needs and the undeniable connection that flickered between us. I ended the call, tears stinging at the edges of my eyes as gut-wrenching emotions swirled that I need time, I finally said, knowing the truth settled uncomfortably within me. I was staring into an abyss, the decision I faced stretching far beyond a single night or $1 million. He nodded slowly, respect etched in the lines of his face. Take your time, but remember, the offer stands. I felt the weight of the moment settle, and as I turned to leave, a glimmer of hope sparked something within me, an unexpected warmth that maybe, just maybe, we were both seeking the same solace. But as I reached the door, a chilling voice echoed back. You know, it's funny how small this world can be. A familiar figure stepped forward behind me, his face shadowed but unmistakable. My heart plummeted, a shocking wave of disbelief washing over me. Torn between relief and fear, I barely managed to breathe when I heard the name on his lips. Once again, the abyss loomed closer, and I was left teetering at the edge, desperate to avoid falling into its depths. I stood frozen at the door, as my worst fear took shape before my eyes. The sharp intake of breath from behind me rippled through the silence like an electric pulse. It was Tom, my brother's best friend and the last person I expected to see here. His presence felt like a thunderclap, rattling the very core of my resolve. What are you doing here, Tom? My voice cracked, filled with a mixture of urgency and confusion. He stepped closer, his expression a swirl of concern and confusion that mirrored my own. I was looking for you. I didn't know you were. He hesitated, glancing at the CEO, whose own presence dimmed under Tom's scrutiny. I thought you were out of town, I said, forcing my shock back down my throat, desperate to grasp at control. The weight of the unfolding drama felt unbearable. I was, but I came back early. You weren't answering your texts, and I got worried, he replied, his brow furrowed, his eyes darting between us in an effort to understand this sudden emotional tug-of-war. The air was thick with tension, an awkward dance of unfamiliar dynamics as the moments flickered by. I took a deep breath, summoning the last remnants of courage I had. What do you want, Tom? Before he could reply, the CEO stepped forward, his composure shifting ever so slightly, though the politeness in his voice remained. Excuse me, but I think there's been a misunderstanding. I was just explaining my offer to her. Tom blinked, taken aback. Offer? Is this about a job? You're trying to lure her into something she doesn't want, aren't you? I could feel heat rising up my neck, anger brewing at being perceived as something one could just lure or entice. It's not like that, Tom. I shot back, the emotional storm inside me roiling. You don't understand. Then help me understand. He insisted, stepping closer, his eyes searching mine. What do you mean you can't talk to me? Why do you look so distant? The utter vulnerability in his voice pulled at a chord in my heart. Tom was my brother's anchor, someone I deeply cared for, and yet in this moment, he felt like a tie binding me to a life I was desperately trying to escape. The turmoil I was feeling from both men seemed insufferable. I'm trying to figure everything out, I faltered. The truth sat uncomfortably inside me. Had I felt drawn to the CEO, but with Tom, there was safety. A consistent familiarity that felt like home amidst life's chaos. The CEO observed us quietly, his silence a heavy presence that weighed down on me like an iron chain. I could sense the complexity of emotions rolling through him, perhaps even a hint of jealousy or perhaps concern, but it was impossible to decipher. Maybe we should talk somewhere else, he suggested, his tone surprisingly gentle. It was an offer, a plea for space, yet it felt suffocating. No, I said, an unexpected firmness taking over my voice. I don't want to go anywhere. I want to be here, now, facing this mess. Well, this mess is my right as your friend, Tom insisted, crossing his arms protectively. Is it better to shield me from the truths that might help me? I challenged back, the heat of frustration surging within me. I'm not trying to shield you. I'm trying to protect you from someone who'd use you. Tom argued, crossing the invisible line of personal space, challenge etched in his eyes. No one's using anyone, the CEO interjected, a slight edge creeping into his voice. For the first time, I noticed a crack in his mask, fury layered beneath the calm. The world beyond this room blurred into oblivion while the tension crystallized, capturing the raw emotions thrumming between us. In that moment, a long-forgotten spark of courage ignited in me. You don't know anything about what I need. I yelled, tears pricking the corners of my eyes. Before either of them could respond, my phone buzzed again, shattering the thick air. I glanced down, my heart sinking as I saw my mother's name flickering again. I couldn't breathe, two worlds pressing into me, each one vying for my attention. Ignoring the buzzing urgency, I clutched my phone tightly, looking between Tom and the CEO. I'm torn between what you both represent. I don't want to disappoint either of you. I can help you, the CEO said softly. If you trust me. Tom shook his head vehemently. And I don't. You're playing a game with her emotions just like you've played with everyone else's. My heart thundered in my chest, and the walls around me felt impossibly tight as I struggled for clarity. The dread of making the wrong choice loomed heavily. It was all so convoluted, the stakes more significant than ever. Just give me a chance to explain, the CEO said, desperation spilling into his voice. I can show you. But before he could finish, my mother's call, now a loud crackling reminder of reality, pulled at my attention. I have to answer this, I said, the decision tearing at my gut. I can't keep running. I have responsibilities. With trembling hands, I swiped to answer, tearing my gaze from the tension-riddled faces before me. But just as I pressed my ear to the speaker, I heard a single whisper echo down the line, shattering my thoughts entirely. I've met with the doctor and there's something you need to know about your mother. Every heartbeat thundered in my ears as dread washed over me, unveiling a truth I wasn't ready for. The allure of companionship and the looming shadows of uncertainty crashed over me like waves. I had stumbled into a tempest where the cost of finding myself seemed more precarious than I ever imagined. The phone slipped from my fingers, bouncing against the hardwood floor with an agonizing thud. The world around me dimmed, every ounce of energy sapped from my limbs. The walls felt like they were closing in, squeezing out my breath, each heartbeat echoing the certainty of impending doom. I had half expected my mother to land another heartbreaking blow, but this? The unfathomable dread at the words I hadn't yet fully comprehended gnawed at me. Tom's face mirrored my own distress, his usual bravado crumbling into something utterly vulnerable. "You okay?" he asked softly, stepping forward as if to catch my fall, but I was too shattered to acknowledge him. My eyes flickered to the CEO, who stood rigid against the doorway, uncertainty flashing across his eyes, a sight so rare it confused my racing thoughts. His earlier calm demeanor had cracked, revealing a man who might also be able to feel the tremors of an approaching storm. "That I need to call her back," I managed, my voice coming out as a quiet plea. I bent down, reaching for my phone, utterly consumed by the swirling tide of emotions. I could feel Tom's presence bearing down on me, the weight of expectations pressing tighter than before. "Wait." His voice was firm, a lifeline thrown into my swirling chaos. "What did she say? Can't you just tell us, can't you?" I shot back, snatching the phone from the floor. My heart raced violently, and adrenaline rushed through my veins. "What is this about? What does it mean?" My voice broke, penetrating the tense silence that hovered like a stifling fog. The CEO cleared his throat, breaking the oppressive silence with a gentle clarity. "If it's about your mother, I think you should take a moment. You don't want to add the burden of our drama to what you might already be dealing with." I stared at him, a fragile flicker of admiration igniting. He might not have the power to make my decisions for me, but in that moment I recognized a sincerity, a small depth to his character amidst the confusion of who I thought he was. With shaky fingers, I pressed the call button, pacing the room as the phone rang, each toll echoing louder in the silence. Tom's eyes bore into me, a whirlwind of protective instinct and growing anxiety warring across his features. "Mom?" I finally whispered as she picked up on the second ring. Her voice was airy and uncertain, edged with something I feared to name. "Honey, two's everything okay?" I interrupted, the tension in my chest tightening. "You said there's something I need to know about the doctor, sweetheart, please no." I cried, feeling tears stinging again. "I can't do this today. Just tell me." There was a hesitation, a silence that stretched so unbearably long I thought surely something terrible had cut the connection. Eventually, she spoke again, her voice trembling. "They found something." Its serious anguish clutched at my throat, the weight of it almost palpable. "How serious?" My heart raced, panic enveloped every thought, scrambling my understanding of the world around me. "Stage 4, sweetheart. The cancer has spread." Tom's hand pressed against my shoulder, a grounding force, but the panic wrestled me into submission. "No. No. This can't be happening." My voice broke again, each syllable a raw testament to my helplessness. Tom turned me gently, cradling my face in his hands. "Hey, look at me," he urged, his gaze steady, unflinching. His eyes were pools of heartfelt concern, plunging me into another world where my tumultuous feelings were a mere whisper. "We will figure this out together. You're not alone." Before I could respond, I felt the CEO move closer, his presence an uneasy yet comforting enigma. "You have to lean on the people who care about you," he said softly, his tone steady, offering a flicker of support. "You're stronger than you realize, but you need to let others help you." Those words pierced through the haze of fear wrapping around me, yet with each step I took toward the light, another shadow loomed behind, draped in anguish. I felt torn, stretched thin between two worlds grappling for my attention, the darkness threatening to swallow my hope and the light offering touchstone warmth. "That I can't keep you both in my life," I whispered, each word feeling like a sacrilege against the friendship I held dear. "I need clarity, and I don't know how to find it." The two men exchanged glances over my head, a conversation beyond me flickering in the air between them. "You need to choose," Tom stated, his voice firm, "but we'll help you understand what that choice means." Before I could dwell too long on his words, my phone vibrated in my pocket violently, an alarming pulse that pulled my attention away again. I glanced at the screen, recognizing an unknown number. Holding my breath, I answered. Hello? I spoke cautiously, my heart racing. Is this your name? This is Dr. Matthews. We need to discuss your mother's condition moving forward. It requires urgent attention. The color drained from my face, reality collapsing wildly into an abyss of fear as dread clawed back into view. My mother's illness was only the tip of the iceberg, and behind this sudden call loomed complicated decisions that stretched far beyond the immediate moment. As the walls pressed in tighter, I realized I stood at a pivotal point, one that would reshape not just my future, but also the lives of the two men who, unbeknownst to me, were already forging bonds that could either lift me or pull me under. And as I looked between Tom and the CEO, questions lingered, unspoken in the air, bound tight with emotion. What were they willing to sacrifice to stand by my side? What were they hiding beneath their own masks? I could feel the tremors of something bigger looming ahead, like shadows stretched across a path yet to be walked. The phone call from Dr. Matthews left an emptiness that consumed me, an uneventful void that swallowed the hope I had desperately clung to. The saying hope is a double-edged sword skittered through my mind, echoing against the walls of my spiraling thoughts. How had it come to this? I thought of my mother, her laughter, her wisdom, the moments we took for granted. What do you mean, urgent attention? I quivered, my voice trembling as my eyes darted desperately between Tom and the CEO, both a lifeline and a burden. Can we meet tomorrow, if that works for you? Dr. Matthews continued, voice steady yet laden with gravity. It's crucial we discuss treatment options and any further assessments needed. That I nodded dumbly even though he couldn't see me, my heart pounding, the weight of decisions ahead pressing down like an anchor. Tom continued to hold my gaze, his eyes reflecting 1,000 emotions: fear, determination, frustration, and a drive to alleviate my suffering that cut right through me. You need to take care of yourself first, he implored softly, to truly be there for her, the CEO added. If we can help find answers or support you in any way, let us. His voice contained an unexpected calmness that stood in stark contrast to the whirlwind inside me. I never imagined he could be like this, humble, supportive, and incredibly human beneath his polished facade. Can I just have a moment? I managed to choke out, feeling swallowed by human emotions that were more powerful and raw than I anticipated. I turned away from them, needing space, feeling the panic bubble up in my chest, a force threatening to break free. That I stepped outside to the small balcony that overlooked the busy streets below. The sun dipped low, casting hues of amber and crimson across the sky, a breathtaking distraction to my turmoil. The biting autumn air kissed my skin, and I inhaled deeply, desperately searching for clarity among the chaos. As I wrapped my arms around myself, I felt a presence showing up behind me. I didn't need to turn my head to know it was Tom. His steadying energy was undeniable. You're here, I whispered, my voice bordering on fragile. Always, he replied simply, coming to stand beside me. We both leaned against the railing, gazing out at the city that felt distant and disconnected. That I don't want to let you down, I finally let out, the words slipping through the cracks in my heart. If I choose to rely on you, how do I know you won't just leave when things get hard? His silence was an anchor, propelling me deeper into the storm swirling within. You have to trust me, even when it's scary, he said eventually, his tone low and steady. You can't bear this alone. No one can. A flicker of warmth from his words ignited something inside me. And the CEO? What do I do with him? He's complicated, maybe. But he's trying in his own way, too, Tom replied, his intensity never wavering. This isn't the time for past grudges or uncertainties. You should lean into the support you have, even if it feels convoluted. As if on cue, the door squeaked open again, and the CEO stepped out, his face a combination of concern and calm. I didn't mean to intrude, but not now, I interrupted, turning my back to him. Just give me a minute. Please. The words felt harsh, yet I needed to distance myself from the conflicting emotions he stirred in me. I watched the shadows lengthen on the street, noting the fading light, an echo of how I felt within. When the silence hung thick, I sensed the two men share another glance over my shoulder. The weight of their attention only burdened me further. I turned, emotion bubbling into the surface, ready to explode. You don't get it. I can't can't bear the weight of all this on my own. The CEO took a step forward, lowering his voice into a soothing timbre. You're stronger than you know. And sometimes, strength means accepting help, even if it feels like we're reaching into unknown territory. That I felt my heart falter, his tone belying something genuine that clashed with my confusion. But what's in it for you? I shot back, not entirely sure what I wanted to hear. What do you stand to gain? He paused, a flicker of vulnerability flashing across his features, layered with shadows of a past I couldn't comprehend. It's about more than business or connections. You have a reach in this world that you don't yet understand, and it's worth getting you through this. You have to trust that some things will inevitably surprise you. Just as those words faded into the crisp evening air, my phone buzzed again in my pocket, another urgent tone shivering through me. With a trembling hand, I pulled it out, glancing at the screen. This time, the number blinking was indistinguishable from the rest, making my heart race in fear. Another call? Tom asked quietly, concern lacing his voice. That my stomach twisted. It might be something important, I managed, sliding my thumb over the screen. Dreading what awaited me on the other end, I answered hesitantly. Hello? A voice echoed back, unfamiliar yet commanding. Is this your name? You need to come to the hospital immediately. It's about your mother. Panic crashed into me, amalgamating with the whirlwind of emotions bubbling beneath the surface. Suddenly, clarity faded into irrelevance before me. Personal choice muddied by the reality of life and death loomed ominously. Tell me that I wasn't ready for this. Before I could utter a single word, the call dropped, leaving only a deafening silence behind. I felt my body go cold, my heart pounding louder than ever. I stood at the precipice of everything unraveling and yet somehow pieced together, as Tom and the CEO awaited my next move in quiet anticipation. But as the shadows deepened around us, I couldn't shake the feeling that this moment was merely a prelude, the beginning of something far more tumultuous looming on the horizon, waiting to change everything I thought I understood. The abrupt disconnect from the call clanged in my ears like a funeral bell, a stark reminder of the fragility of life. My hands trembled, and I blinked rapidly, but nothing could clear the fog that threatened to consume the moment. Hey, what happened? Tom's voice broke through the chaotic swirl of my thoughts. His concern threaded through my panic like a lifeline, but I could barely grasp its weight. I have to go to the hospital. The words barely left my lips before a panic-stricken breath caught in my throat. The darkened sky seemed to echo the growing storm inside my chest, a tempest of uncertainty and fear. Let's go. I'll drive you, Tom said, shifting into action before I even fully processed his words. It felt as though I was watching a movie, the images moving too fast for my mind to catch up. Wait. I spun around, desperation bubbling up, mixing with the remnants of anger from earlier. What about him? I gestured toward the CEO, whose presence piqued a conflict I was not ready to confront. I need the CEO began, a look of genuine worry crossing his features, but I cut him off. No. I can't deal with you right now. Don't you understand? My mother. The icicles of fear gripped my heart, constricting any rational thought. I needed to move, to flee from this moment, yet I felt anchored here as though something unseen bound me within this fragile space. Let him come, Tom said calmly, and I felt the storm within me quiet slightly at the conviction in his voice. You'll need all the support you can get, and he's right. You shouldn't have to face this alone. A war waged inside me, torn between my instinct to guard my troubled heart and the gnawing realization that isolation would only smother me deeper. Before I could counter, the CEO stepped forward, a candid expression on his face. I promise, I'll just be there as an observer, if that's what you want. Nothing more. Just let me help. With a heavy sigh, I nodded, still feeling ambivalent about opening that door, but time was running out. The clock was ticking, and my mother needed me. The drive was swift but not fast enough. Each second felt like an eternity. Tom's hands gripped the steering wheel, his focus unwavering. I stared out the window, watching the city pass by in a blur of light and shadow, desperately wishing to be anywhere but there. The silence was palpable, filled with the weight of unspoken fears lingering in the air. When we arrived at the hospital, Tom anchored me with a gentle squeeze of my hand. Together, we pushed through the sliding glass doors, the antiseptic scent and fluorescent lights hitting me like a wall. My chest tightened further as we trudged toward the nurse's station, feeling the heaviness of the impending news weigh me down. Can I help you? The nurse looked up, her face sympathetic yet professional. "I'm here for my mother," I stammered, trying to keep my voice steady as I fumbled for her name. "Elizabeth Collins." Maintaining her calm demeanor, the nurse nodded. "Please take a seat. The doctor will be with you shortly." The words soothed me but also piqued my anxiety. I sat in the uncomfortable plastic chair, my fingers fidgeting and tracing the cold steel of the armrest. Time blurred here, every minute stretching infinitely. I caught Tom's worried gaze and the CEO's calm presence beside us, both providing silent support as I wrestled with the dread clawing at my insides. Finally, a doctor emerged, his face masked with an expression I barely wanted to decode. "Are you your name? We need to discuss your mother's condition." That I nodded, a pit forming in my stomach. "Is she?" "Your mother is stable," he began, his voice steadying me, yet its undertones hinted at something profound. "However, there are complications we need to address." That I could scarcely breathe as he spoke, words swirling together like echoes in a cavern. "Complications? Like what?" My voice trembled, the shadows creeping back around me. Her heart has faced significant strain. "We'll need to discuss options for treatment, including surgery, if she is to maintain a quality of life." The doctor's voice continued, but the words fell like stones into a bottomless well, too heavy to lift and too dark to see. In that fractured moment, the room shrank around me, and a suffocating loneliness seeped into my heart, battling against the flickers of warmth Tom and the CEO provided. I felt lost, adrift in a sea of uncertainty and impending decisions that were not mine to make alone. "Can you give us a moment?" I heard myself ask, surprised by the resolve in my voice. It wasn't just a request, it was a plea to breathe, to process. Tom hesitated but stepped back, concern etched across his features. The CEO, however, remained rooted. "I'll be here. Just remember you're not alone in this." As the door slid shut behind them, I struggled to focus on the doctor's words, drowning beneath layers of tension and uncertainty. The flickering fluorescent lights above mirrored the frenzy inside my heart, and I buried my face in my hands, unable to contain the rush of emotion. "Please," I whispered, my voice cracking, "please tell me she's going to be okay." But even as those words left my lips, they felt like echoes of hopelessness floating in the air, unanswered, unfulfilled. As the doctor remained silent, those heavy seconds stretching taut and unbearable, I couldn't shake the feeling that a sudden storm was brewing, one that could redefine my world once again. As the seconds ticked by, I felt the weight of hidden truths inching closer, poised to rip apart the veil of my life. Flashes of Tom's unwavering support and complicit shadows from the CEO hung in the air, mingled with the ache of fear for how could I let others bear this burden when I constantly felt unworthy of their kindness. And then, my phone buzzed once more, a blaring alarm amid the desolate silence. The dread that clutched my heart turned to ice as I glanced at the screen, ready to face whatever revelation awaited me. Would I find a reason to hope, or another blow to my already fragmented spirit? "Not now," I murmured, clutching the device tightly, aware that in this uncertain moment, the weight of my choices would either set me free or ensnare me in a deeper entanglement of heartache. The doctor's silence gnawed at me, each tick of the clock hammering in my ears. I couldn't decipher his gaze, but the quiet depth hinted at depths of knowledge that I feared to explore. Would it reveal hope or uncover fears I hadn't yet confronted? After what felt like an eternity, the doctor finally spoke. "Your mother will need surgery soon. I need you to consider how you would like to proceed. There are risks we need to discuss." My heart raced as I fought to absorb his words, but my thoughts drifted back to the buzzing phone in my pocket, a tiny vibration in the chaos of uncertainty. I felt its insistent presence, a connection to the outside world that felt both necessary and burdensome. "Can we discuss the options later?" I managed to say, forcing my breathing to steady. The room still felt constricting, as though the walls bore witness to my mounting anguish. "Of course." The doctor nodded, his expression softening. "Take your time. This is a lot to process." As he left, I pulled out my phone, heart pounding, a mixture of dread and curiosity tingling at the edges of my consciousness. The screen lit up, revealing a message from an unknown number. "Meet me at the café down the street. I have something important to tell you." I hesitated, a swirl of anxiety tumbling through my gut. Who was M? My instinct screamed caution, yet the urgency in the message was undeniable. Was this something I could ignore in a moment like this? It felt like another layer of complication, another storm cloud brewing over the tumult that already consumed me. Why now? I muttered under my breath, casting a glance out the window. The skies were dark and brooding, mirroring the tempest within me. The world was spinning off its axis, and here I was caught in its relentless orbit. Just then, Tom peeked into the room, his expression a blend of concern and determination. "How are you holding up?" His voice, a gentle beacon amid the anxiety, sparked a flicker of warmth deep within. I struggled with the words, but the reality of my mother's condition weighed heavily on my chest. Would I burden him with my inner turmoil, or could I find solace in his unwavering presence? "I got a message," I admitted, tapping my fingers against the smooth glass of my phone and striving to keep my voice steady. "Someone wants to meet me." An unknown number. His brow furrowed, and a shadow crossed his face. "Do you think it's about your mother? Or something else entirely?" "I don't know." Fear and curiosity tangled together in a messy knot. "I feel like everything is falling apart, and I have no control over any of it." "Let me come with you," Tom offered, crossing the threshold and closing the door behind him. That simple act felt like a reassuring embrace, wrapping me in a cocoon of safety amid the storm. "No, I couldn't," I started to protest, but he cut me off. "I won't let you face this alone. Whatever news awaits you, good or bad, you shouldn't have to handle it without me." The steadfastness in his voice made me reconsider. Could I admit that I needed him now, more than ever? "Okay," I whispered, the suffocating darkness beginning to lift just a fraction. "I want you there." As the heaviness in my chest lightened, I noticed a flicker of movement at the door. The CEO. He stood just outside, a silent observer, and I could see the earnest concern etched on his face as our eyes met. "I'm sorry to intrude," he said softly, stepping further into the room. "But I couldn't help but overhear. If meeting someone might help, maybe I could join you?" The offer hung in the air, heavy with implications. My instinct was to push him away, but his genuine intent was like a lifeline in a churning sea. "Yes, but who is M? Someone from your past? An unexpected connection?" He shuffled awkwardly, and I could almost see the threads of his own fears unraveling as he faced the weight of mine. "How did you?" I brushed him off, guilt suddenly coiling around my heart. Who was I to analyze his motives when I was grappling with my own? Tom spoke up. "We should head there now, but let's keep our guards up. If this M has something significant to say, we might not want to go in blindly." The three of us stepped into the unknown, the fluorescent lights of the hospital fading behind us, replaced by the dim glow of streetlights illuminating our path. As we neared the café, doubt coiled around my resolve like ivy, and the knot in my stomach tightened. This was a moment poised to bring clarity or further suffering. I pushed the café door open, the comforting aroma of roasted coffee and baked goods enveloping us, yet a chill raced down my spine. My gaze darted around, searching for a glimpse of M. A figure sat at the far corner, cloaked in shadows, but as I approached, the light caught a familiar profile, one I never expected to see again. My breath caught in my throat as recognition shattered the fragile calm I'd worked to build. "You, of all people?" I stammered, disbelief and familiarity twisting within me as they lifted their eyes to meet mine. "Surprised?" M replied, a hint of a smile creeping in, but the gravity of the moment demanded more than pleasantries. "You have no idea what's been happening, and it involves your mother." The café felt like a bubble, a world suspended in time where everything outside faded into oblivion. The warm light illuminated the blend of joy and fear existing within me, each pulse in my heart resonating louder than the chatter of other patrons. Tom stood close, and I sensed his readiness to shield me from whatever lay ahead, while the CEO lingered just a breath behind, his tension palpable. "What do you mean?" I asked, unable to mask the tremor in my voice. I felt exposed, as though the very air tugged at my deepest insecurities while inching closer to the truth. Leaned back, their chair creaking under the weight of neglected history. The moment felt frozen, the chaos of my swirling thoughts rendered outside this quiet space. "It's complicated, but it revolves around your mother's condition," they replied, their voice steady yet laden with unspoken burdens. "Just tell me." I could barely keep the impatience from creeping into my tone. Every second stretched like an eternity while my mother's fate loomed large in my mind that I was contacted by someone who might have information, something that could impact her treatment. Ms. expression flickered, the shadows playing across their features revealing a haunted past I was only beginning to unravel. Information? I repeated, my heart racing with a mix of hope and skepticism. Who? I can't say, M said, their voice dipping into a conspiratorial whisper. But I can tell you that this person is affecting more than just her health. Eyes suddenly darting around, they leaned in closer. I think your mother may have hidden something significant about her illness, something potentially dangerous. Dangerous how? Tom interjected, his protective instinct flaring as he folded his arms, his facade of calm contrasting sharply with the rising tempest inside me. That M sighed, the weight of their words saturating the air. I'm not sure. All I know is that if you confront her about this, I cut them off. Confront her? She is barely holding on. What should I do? Accuse my mother of keeping secrets? While she's going through whatever this is? The burn of frustration erupted inside me, rising like a tide threatening to overturn everything I felt. Trust me, M said, a thread of urgency threading through their voice. Whatever's happening could cost her life. I wouldn't bring this to you if it wasn't serious. The corner of the cafe seemed to close in around us, my surroundings fading as dread sank deep into my bones. My mind raced back to the days before the diagnosis, flashing through memories of laughter and warmth, oblivious until they became daggers piercing my heart. Before I could gather my thoughts, the CEO spoke up, his voice steady but tinged with a sincerity that made the world around us dim. If there is a danger lurking beneath the surface, the best course of action will always be honesty, even in the most painful forms. His eyes locked onto mine, each word a reminder of the burden I couldn't shake off. Your mother deserves to know you're by her side, he continued. But she also needs to confront the truth about her condition. You must be her advocate, whether she can see it or not. Advocate or interrogator? I shot back, tears threatening to spill over. How can I make her relive her worst nightmares? I don't know if I can do that. Willing my voice to remain steady felt like juggling knives, and I dropped one. Tom moved a step closer, instinctively reaching for my hand, grounding me. Whatever happens, well, face it together. We can help your mom, we can get the right answers. Maybe this M knows more than they're saying, but we should tread carefully. The gravity of Tom's words settled upon me like a cloak woven from tentative hope and lingering despair. I stayed frozen between Ms. Revelation and the emotional maelstrom it sparked within me. My phone buzzed again, a message I hesitated to read, knowing my heart couldn't take another twist. Just promise me one thing before we leave, M said, their eyes boring into my own. Keep an open line of communication with your mother. The longer the truth lingers without address, the worse it could become. That I was about to respond when the cafe door swung open violently, a gust of wind sweeping inside. A newcomer entered, an old acquaintance I hadn't spoken to in years, Jenna, a childhood friend, her expression marred by confusion as she looked straight at me. Is that really you? She breathed, vulnerability sparking behind her eyes as they searched my face. I've been looking for you. Jenna's arrival sent a ripple through the tension-filled atmosphere, the sudden shift drawing every eye in the cafe. And just like that, another unexpected thread was woven into the chaotic tapestry of my life, pulling me further in as I registered the intertwining strings of fate around me. Are you okay? She asked, concern etched into every feature as she gestured toward my companions, awkwardness crackling in the air. I heard about your mother. I wanted to help. My head swirled with questions. Did she know something? Or was she simply another chance encounter amidst the turmoil? But the weight of revelation loomed closer, and as I opened my mouth to answer, the rest of the world faded away, leaving only the mystery of Jenna's presence entwining with the urgent whispers that sought to unravel my quiet existence. The cafe's ambience felt like the gentle blanket of dusk, a surreal contrast to the chaos whirling within me. As Jenna stepped into my life again, I stood at the precipice of confusion, a swirling storm of emotions battering against the fragile wall I tried to keep intact. Jenna, I managed to say, the name tasting foreign on my tongue. What do you mean you've been looking for me? Her brow furrowed, concern flaring in her eyes. I've heard about your mom and I know this is a strange time for a reunion, but I couldn't just stand by. I wanted to offer my help. A bitter taste rose in my throat, I was not sure I wanted to be helped. Tom squeezed my hand, his silent support grounding me as I fought the urge to retreat from the unexpected intrusion. The bark of laughter from other tables felt miles away, echoing through a world that barely acknowledged my turmoil. "How do you know about my mother?" I asked, wary of what she might say. The hard edge in my voice unsettled her, and I immediately regretted it. "I heard it from my mom," Jenna stuttered, her fingers twitching at her side. "She saw it in the news. It's been really hard on people, you know." Her words were gentle, but they cut deeper than I wanted to admit. "Stop," I said, the crack in my voice betraying my emotional upheaval. "You don't know what it's like." I looked down at my hands, struggling against the rising tide of vulnerability. I wanted to scream, to tell her that I felt lost, and how no matter how many offers of help came my way, nothing could ease the anguish that had rooted itself deep in my heart. "Maybe not, but I want to understand," she replied softly, her search for connection sending a wave of warmth coursing through my frozen veins. "Please, let me help. I've gone through tough times, too." Tom's grip tightened, and my eyes darted to M and the CEO, who watched with an almost calculated detachment, weighing the emotional upheaval as if it were a mere business transaction. I felt exposed, raw, and I longed for the comforting echoes of laughter and memories of simpler days. What if I hesitated, every word heavy with potential consequences? What if I told you that this is about more than just my mom? There are secrets, and everything could fall apart if I'm not careful, I admitted, my breath shaky. "Secrets?" Jenna whispered, her gaze penetrating, coaxing the truth to surface like an unyielding flame. "Like what?" I couldn't speak. Instead, my thoughts spiraled back to the conversation with M, the lurking dangers, and the whispers of my mother's hidden truths. I felt a chill blossom from the base of my spine, creeping through my veins like ice, but Jenna kept watching me, waiting, her heart open in a way that made me both comforted and anxious. I wanted to trust her instinctively, yet my mind warred against the urge. The CEO's calm voice shattered the silence, solid and unyielding. "Your mother's fate is intricately connected to the past, both hers and yours. The truth, however difficult, is often the only path to healing. You can't hide from it." "You don't understand," I shot back, the edge piercing my words. "It's easier to stay in blissful ignorance. I've spent the entirety of my life in admiration of her strength. She's my anchor. Learning that she's tied to something dangerous could ruin everything. Sometimes, ignorance can be the most dangerous thing of all," the CEO responded, the weight of his gaze shifting to Tom, whose steadfastness radiated an aura of protection. Especially when lives are at stake. That a flicker of fear ignited in me, but the warmth of Tom's hand in mine calmed the tempest, at least for a moment. My eyes flitted back to Jenna, whose expression held a mixture of concern and empathy that I had not encountered in ages. There was something resolute about her presence, a glimmer of light in the lingering shadows that I left without saying goodbye when you needed a friend. "And I'm truly sorry," she said quietly. "But I am here now. Let me help you. Let us face this together." The knot in my stomach twisted tighter as conflicting emotions battled within me. Could I really invite someone back into my life when everything was tangled and frayed? A memory of our laughter, of the innocence we shared as children, teased at my heart, reminding me of a simpler time. Just then, I felt the buzz of my phone again, this time vibrating chaotically against the table's edge. I stole a glance, half expecting another terse update on my mother's condition, and froze. The message was from an unknown number, the words short and cryptic: "Meet me tonight. I have information about your mother." "Don't tell anyone," panic roared through my mind, bubbling over into an uncontrollable tide of confusion. The world blurred around me, Jenna's concerned face merging with the dark undercurrents of my thoughts. Related or not, this could turn the fragile balance of everything I was trying to hold together into a chaotic spiral. "That I have to go," I whispered, my heart hammering as I met Tom's concerned gaze, whose brow furrowed further. The air felt too thick, every breath labored as I caught a glimpse of M's knowing expression. "Wait," Tom said, his voice laced with anxiety. "What are you talking about? Where are you going?" A painful silence enveloped us, and an abyss of uncertainty yawned open, beckoning me to enter. One choice could either unearth hidden truths or bury me deeper in a troubling conundrum. The chaotic swirl of Christoph's long-hidden secrets and lingering childhood connections. I knew one thing: running from the truth was no longer an option. The invitation to unravel secrets weighed heavy as I hesitated, my heart caught in the tension of fate's tightrope, poised on the brink of revelation and ruin. The rain began to fall as I stepped out of the café, dark clouds hanging ominously overhead, mirroring the heavy storm inside my heart. I glanced back at Tom, Jenna, and the CEO who remained inside, each of their eyes filled with varying degrees of concern and uncertainty. I needed to face this whatever awaited me behind the shadows of secrets and unanswered questions. My feet moved almost on their own accord, driven by a mix of fear and the unlikely hope that maybe tonight would finally bring clarity. I couldn't ignore the text. My mother, my family, and our future depended on the kind of information that could not be trifled with. I reached the dingy alleyway where the meeting was set to take place, the ambient glow of a flickering street lamp illuminating the damp pavement. To my surprise, a figure loomed at the far end of the alley. A flash of recognition shot through my veins, quickening my heartbeat. "You?" I gasped, blinking through the downpour, for what stood before me wasn't just any stranger, but a ghost resurrected from my past. Alex, an old family friend whose presence stirred memories both cherished and laced with betrayal. "I know this is unexpected," Alex said, stepping closer, his voice barely rising above the sound of raindrops hitting the pavement. "But I have information about your mother." The weight of his words settled between us like a dark cloud. I fought to catch my breath, anger and hurt igniting my defenses. "You disappeared the moment everything went downhill for us," I said, the bitterness leaking into my tone. "Why should I trust you now? I didn't leave intentionally, and you know that better than anyone. I had my own demons to fight, but I'm here because your mother is in danger." His eyes shone with a sincerity that broke through the walls I had constructed. "She confided and sworn me to secrecy, but the truth can't remain buried any longer." A shiver surged through me, and the tension gnawed at my gut. "What do you mean in danger?" I asked, my voice trembling slightly. "I came across information that suggests there's something in her past that could return and threaten everything she has. You need to prepare yourself to either confront her or risk losing her forever," he replied, his expression grave. As memories of our childhood flooded my mind, I considered how intertwined our lives were. Back then, the laughter, the pranks, and the way he had once been my confidant. "Why should I believe you now?" I pressed, rationality struggling with the emotional yearning to reconnect with someone I had lost. "Because I lost her too. Me family fell apart the same way yours did," Alex responded, anguish flickering in his eyes. "And it's a burden I carry every day. I don't want you to go through that. You deserve to know the truth." Before I could respond, a cold breeze rushed past us, carrying the weight of impending decisions. The message loomed larger than life, the elements of our past tangled with the choices of the present. Taking a deep breath, I mustered the courage to confront the volcano of secrets buried under layers of hurt. "What do you know? The truth is volatile, and uncovering it may crush you," he cautioned. "But withholding it could devour all the light left within your family. Your mother hid details about her diagnosis, capabilities that she believed foolishly would protect you by shielding you from the stark reality. She thought she could contain her fears and continue to be your rock." With each revelation, the tension inside me intertwined, and anticipation sparked curiosity mingled with dread. "I don't understand," I said, struggling to keep my voice steady. "What really happened to her? Years ago, before she became the woman you know, she faced situations that altered her path, and she didn't handle them well," Alex explained. "She fought a battle against her demons and lost. Then she fought for you only to find ways to mask her suffering instead of confronting it. That's why she's drawn to secrecy. She's always been wary of the weight of truth. But it's time both for you and her to unravel those hidden pieces." My heart pounded like a drum in a battle, rage and despair clashing inside me. "You think she was trying to protect us by hiding?" "Yes, and while her intentions were noble, secrets always fester," Alex said. "You must confront her. You need to find the courage to dig into that past and understand why she felt she needed to bear this alone." I felt lost, teetering on the brink of a dark abyss. What if I can't bring myself to face her? "Knowing is better than being unprepared for what's to come," Alex said softly, reaching forward to put his hand on my shoulder. "You're stronger than you think. You have the power to redefine the narrative." In that moment, I understood that regaining control began with fostering trust even in the people we wonder if we should, and finding the courage to embrace the vulnerability necessary for healing. I stood at a painful crossroads, swirling emotions colliding against reflections of the woman I admired yet hardly recognized. What if it's too late? I can't pretend to know what the future holds, but you owe it to yourself to unearth those buried feelings, Alex urged, sincerity emanating from him. Even the darkest nights have a chance at dawn. That I closed my eyes, inhaling deeply, the rain soaking through my clothes but somehow awakening a sense of clarity. The storm within me quieted just a fraction as I weighed the weight of his words. As I stood with a figure from my past, my heart ached for the closeness we once shared but had been lost to time, pain, and unspoken truths. Opening my eyes, I found renewed determination surging through me as I dismissed the guilt of the past. I don't know if I can patch this rift, but I need answers. Please, help me figure it out, I said, knowing that I needed support in this labor of love. Let's go, he said, a hint of hope igniting in his expression. We can face it together. I took a step toward him, our uncertain path stretching ahead, and somehow I felt lighter. I was ready to confront the storm, to navigate the heartaches and truths entwined in my mother's life. As Alex and I stepped back into the rain-soaked streets, I felt a spark of resilience. Though unknown answers awaited me, embracing the journey felt more powerful than choosing the shadows of avoidance. Perhaps it was time to face the truths that shaped my mother's world, for through that understanding, we could weave a path toward healing. Together, we headed back toward the café, prepared to bridge the gaps that haunted us. The rain continued to pour, each droplet a promise of renewal, a reminder that even after the storm, the sun would rise again. And as a faint glimmer of light broke through the clouds, I realized that sometimes, facing the truth meant stepping straight into the heart of the storm. Yet it was within that storm I would find the most profound connections to my mother, to Alex, and to the possibility of healing I never thought I could reach, because in the end, it was courage, vulnerability, and love that would illuminate the darkest paths. And as I walked back, I held on to the hope that together, we could finally learn to withstand the tempest and weather the storms ahead, leading me back to my mother, to a place of understanding, and perhaps ultimately, acceptance. Little did I know, that tomorrow would demand the greatest courage of all, for within the depths of our past awaited the confrontation that would change everything. I took one last breath before stepping into the warmth of the café, world within filled with hope, possibility, and the beat of futures yet to unfold. This is just the beginning, I thought to myself, my heart steady and resolute, ready to forge a new path with every ounce of love and strength I could muster.